22, verses 23 to 31. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you offspring of Jacob, glorify him. Stand in awe of him, all of you offspring of Israel. For he did not despise or abhor the affliction of the afflicted. He did not hide his face from me, but heard when I cried to him. From you comes my praise in the great congregation. My vows I will pay before you, before him who fear him. The poor shall eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him shall praise the Lord. May your hearts live forever. All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of the nations shall worship before him. For dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. To him indeed shall all who sleep in the earth bow down. Before him shall bow all who go down to the dust, and I shall live for him. Posterity will serve him. Future generations will be told about the Lord, and proclaim his deliverance to a people yet unborn, saying that he has done it. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
You'll have to excuse me, I've got a tickle and I can't get rid of it. I've got sweaty hands and a dry mouth too, and that isn't good. Okay, in Mark chapter 8, we're starting with verse 31. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed. And after 3 days he rises again. He said all this quite openly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me. Stand, for you are Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." He called to the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "If anyone want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." Remember this, what I just said. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. I was just looking to see if 9:1 was up there. And he said to them, "Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the kingdom of God has come with power." May God add his blessing to the reading of these words. What'd you think of my sermon title? Do you think you're going to get the answers? Nah, there are no answers. Yes, there are answers, and I will tell them to you. The ultimate success formula. Sounds good, sounds easy. It is not. We all know that. We were talking before church this morning, saying in this kind of a message at this time of the year is quite unique, because Advent, you have Advent messages. Lent, you have Lent messages. And you cannot steer too far from that, because that's not people what they want to hear. When they've heard it enough times, they almost know word for word what you're going to say, or at least the scriptures and things like that, but that's okay. You know, it's just a reaffirmation of our beliefs and a reaffirmation of it must be so because God said so. How's that? Jesus would turn over in his grave if he were in his grave, which of course he is not. However, I want to suggest to you this morning that the ultimate formula for worldly success is found in a portion of his words in Mark 8:34, what I had just read. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. In a secular sense, that text alone would guarantee any person's success in the world. Of business, art, education, sports, or whatever career you may choose. And I'll pick on the Olympics for just a few moments here. It's been on for, this is the 18th day, I believe, and the closing is tonight. You don't get a gold medal for being a slacker. You don't make a world that you've struggled with and struggled and struggled until you reach the top. Again, it takes faith and taking up the cross. One of the things that I do when I see a program on television, we don't watch the award shows, but when somebody's thanking, I always listen to see who thanks God. And it's surprising how many people do not. Just how do they think they got there? Do they think that they are so good on their own that, they didn't have to thank God in public? Are they ashamed? Squelch. Are they ashamed? That's God talking. But anyhow, if you'll notice that, not many do. And I think how sad that is. After all, what does it mean to deny yourself and take up the cross? We know what it does not mean. It does not mean it in times of adversity saying in a whiny voice, well, I guess this is just my cross to bear. No, denying ourselves and taking up a cross has to do with discipline and hard work. It has to do with unselfishness and committing ourselves to the finest of which we are capable. That's important, the finest of which you are capable. It doesn't have to be the best, but God knows what you're capable of, and if you excel to that, that's good enough. It has to do with forgetting ourselves and concentrating on the needs of others. It has to do with a commitment of excellence in all things. In short, in these few words, Jesus has summed up all of the most helpful advice of self-help books written over the past several decades. People who succeed in life deny themselves and take up the cross. That's all you have to do. Be committed. It is true you don't get to be the best by staying in your comfort zone. You do it by working till you sweat blood. You sit at your computer or your design board or your blueprints or your lesson plan or whatever long after everybody else is gone. That's what it means to, in a secular sense, to deny yourself and take up the cross, and it works. The University of Chicago did a 5-year study of leading artists, athletes, and scholars conducted by Dr. Benjamin Bloom. The research was based on anonymous interviews with the top 20 performers in various fields. These people included concert pianists, Olympic swimmers, tennis players, sculptors, mathematicians, neurologists. Bloom and his team of researchers from the university probed for clues as to how these achievers developed. For a more complete picture, they interviewed their families and teachers also. The report stated conclusively that drive and determination, not great natural talent, led to the extraordinary success of these individuals. Drive and determination. You have to want it to get it. If you don't want it, you will not get it. Bloom noted, we expect to find tales of great natural gifts. We didn't find that at all. Their mothers often said it was another child who had the greater talents. What we found were extraordinary accounts of hard work and dedication. I love the sun, but I tell you, stay out or go back. the pianist who practiced several hours a day for 17 years, the swimmer who rolled out of bed every morning at 5:30 to do laps for 2 hours before school. That's how you get to be the top and give your all. In another study, when the nation's top achievers were asked to rate the factors they consider most important in contributing to their success, hard work emerges as the highest factor. Not talent or luck, but hard work. Even in an area in which we would suppose talent would be a critical factor, such as playing the violin, hard work still wins out. A recent study of elite student violinists shows that the number of hours spent practicing was the only thing that separated the potential superstars from others who were good, but not quite good enough. Psychologists follow the careers of violinists studying at the Music Academy of West Berlin. By the time they were 18, the Academy's best students had already spent more than 2,000 hours more in practice on average than had their fellow students. 2,000 hours. That's a work week. That's a year's worth of work. Extra. That is denying yourself and taking up the cross. Here is the secret of amazing success of recent immigrants to our land from such countries as Japan, Korea, Vietnam, who barely speak our language but are achieving the American dream. In 1986, a group of researchers published a study of Japanese mothers and mothers in Minneapolis, St. Paul. The mothers were asked to rank the most important things that a child needs to succeed academically. The answer tells a lot about the difference in our two cultures. The mother in Minneapolis chose ability as most important. The mother in Japan said effort. Effort, deny yourself, and take up the cross. The secret is not only in working hard, but working hard at the right things. Our Jewish friends have often understood the importance of this principle. A sociological professor with an Italian heritage, when telling how he grew up, remarked, "When I would start off to school in the morning, my mother would push the screen door open and call out, 'Do you have your lunch pail?' Like all good Italian mothers, his mother made sure he never went hungry." He said a Jewish boy lived a few doors down, and when he started off to school, his mother would push open the door too, but she would call out, "Isaac, do you have your books?" Effort, hard work, practice, commitment. Business guru Tom Peters recalls a wonderful story of musicians that one of them may have been Pablo Picasso, who died at almost 100 years of age. The morning he died, he was downstairs practicing his notes at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 100 years old. That's just lovely, says Peters, but it's lovely if being the best at what you do is important to you. In other words, it is self-defeating to sit around and say, "Well, if I had his talent, then I could make it." Or, "If I got the same breaks as she did, then I could be successful." Sure, talent is important. Some people do get lucky, but studies show that these factors are of minor importance. The reason most people succeed is that they are willing to pay the price for their success. They are willing to put in the effort and hours to make it to the top. They are willing to deny themselves and take up the cross. So there it is, the ultimate success formula. By the way, let me say to our young people who just left the room, there's a couple of young people in here. Gotcha. There you go. So here's the ultimate success formula. By the way, let me say to our young people that denying ourselves and taking up the cross at your stage in life can mean staying in school and learning as much as possible. And that goes for everybody. Everybody should learn every day, We have schools, the library. Anybody can go out to DAC at any age and learn something. It's crucial. It keeps you from getting stagnant also. It's always sad to see a capable young person fall short of his or her dreams because he or she wasn't willing to stick it out to the end. I know sometimes school gets discouraged. Some of you can sympathize with the fellow who said, "I didn't hate school, I just hated the principle of the thing." However, in today's world, a good education is vital. Don't limit yourself just because you are discouraged. Deny yourself and take up the cross, the ultimate success formula. Try it. I guarantee it will work or double your money back. But before you go out into the world to try it, let me add one thing. Some of you are going to find that material success is not really all that satisfying. There are a lot of lonely people driving Cadillacs and Mercedes, living in homes with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. These folks are finding out too late that upward mobility is not necessarily the formula for a peaceful heart or a loving home. So we need to re-examine for a moment Christ's words. We overlook some of them. He said, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Let him deny. He's not talking about a Rolex watch at all, is he? He's talking about forgetting ourselves for the sake of others. Isn't it what we did? Isn't that what the cross really is all about? It's not talking about becoming a real go-getter, but real go-givers. He's not talking about stocks and bonds, but soup kitchens and bread lines. He's not talking about winning the rat race, but serving the human race in his name. That's the kind of self-denial and cross-bearing of which he is concerned. Grandma Moses achieved worldly success late in life. Excuse me, I'm sorry. By the time she died, her name was a household word. And yet when Grandma Moses was asked at 93 what she was proudest of, she replied, "I've helped some people. I've just helped some people." It's amazing. The gentle actress Audrey Hepburn has been a star for many years. Ask her, though, about her most important work, and she will tell you in traveling throughout the world as a Goodwill ambassador, it was UNICEF. I did not know that. If my fame as an artist helps me get people to listen, she says, I shall tell them that if a family gets a shovel, which UNICEF provides in its programs, they should use it to dig a well or cultivate the land, not to dig the graves of their children. You see, Audrey Hepburn knows about starving children. She was once one of them. As a youngster in Europe during World War II, she and her family endured years of hunger and toward the end, near starvation. Immediately after the war, she recalls, an organization was formed that gave us food, medicine, and clothing. That organization later became known as the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Today, Hepburn is repaying a debt in her legacy. Dr. Arthur Turry retired a few years back in Flint, Michigan. He once helped a mother who was given birth. Let me repeat that. He helped a mother who had given birth and died. He cared for the baby until it was adopted. For that, he started the Flint Area Health Foundation, a help for needy children. For years, he was head of the Mott Children Health Center, which helped with medical and dental care. Dr. Turry said, many people ask me why I devoted my life to the poor and disadvantaged when I could be in a private practice and a wealthy man. I tell them from whence I came, and the fact that the greatest healer of all time, Jesus Christ, said, when you do it unto the least of these, you have done it to me. It's enough. What I'm saying to you this day, Jesus did give us the ultimate success formula. The upward mobility he offers is truly out of this world, but the formula he gives beyond the superficial values of today's materialistic culture, it goes beyond looking for number one. It is found in forgetting ourselves, losing ourselves in the service to others, and as you know, it works, it really works. According to research conducted by George Gallup, and this is old data, as you notice I referred to 1986. Sometimes it's hard to look for this kind of information to make it fit. But at this time, George Gallup, 12% of Americans are highly spiritually committed. Only 12%. Now, this has been a few years ago. And I'm more concerned that percentage has probably dropped, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out. They are those who truly understand what Jesus meant when he said, deny yourself, take up the cross, and follow me. Gallup says the numbers of this group are a breed apart from the rest of the populace in at least 4 ways. They are happier, their families are stronger, they are tolerant of people of different races and religions, they are community-minded, they are involved in service to others that is cross-bearing, that really makes a difference. So we have a choice. We can heed parts of Jesus' words, deny yourself and take up the cross and have all the success this world has to offer. And there's nothing really wrong with that. Jesus wants us to be the very best at whatever we choose to be, as long as it does not cost us our souls. There is a better way, however. Use him as your guide. Deny yourself by giving yourself for the others in his name. That's where the real happiness lies. That's what the ultimate success is all about. Amen.